The last concept in this chapter is being able to ask and answer information questions related to common actions. Under this heading, I've put several different things because there's actually a lot of information contained in this chapter, which is kind of an introduction or an exposure to it. We will be seeing this vocabulary in greater detail, which will enable us to practice it more in the next chapter and in further activities. But I did want to clarify some things for you and go over some pronunciation of different vocabulary. So first is talking about les mots interrogatifs. Another words, I can see I have a typo on the slide, question words. So in my last little video, when we were talking about yes/no questions, when you see esca to start out a question, you know automatically it's a we/no question. It's a yes/no question. So let me repeat that again. Whenever you see a question or hear a question that starts with esca, that is a signal that it is a yes/no question. Okay? Now, there are some other question words that we've been exposed to. We're going to add more to this list, but in this chapter. And the first one is ou. Ou. Do you guys remember what ou means? Ou means where. Ou means where. The accent does not affect pronunciation, but it does affect meaning. So you need to remember to put the accent over the U, notice the direction, when you're writing the word where, okay? Où. We talked about this word in terms of in terms of les endroits, places, okay? Où. Another question word is the word qui. 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 Okay, I put the pronunciation there as well. What do you think qui means? Right, qui means who. Okay, so those are two question words that we've been exposed to, all right, in this chapter, and we're going to add more to this list. Now, this changes our formula a little bit in terms of how to make a question, because these are information questions, open-ended questions, all right? So the main thing is that you're going to put the question word in there. You're going to start your sentence out with the question word. When you're listening to a question, that is the first thing the person is going to say most of the time is the question word, okay? Then you're going to hear esca, because it is still that question helping verb and a helping word, and then subject and then verb. If you're using intonation, okay, if you're not putting esca in there, the question word is going to go at the end. And finally, if you want to be fancy and use inversion, where you invert the order of the subject and the verb, linking them with a little hyphen, you are going to start out with the question word. So here's an example, still with our dancing example, okay? Où est-ce que tu danses? Où est-ce que tu danses? Where do you dance? Example of this with the question word at the end with an intonation type question. Intonation, and that I'm raising my voice at the end. Tu danses où? Tu danses où? You dance where? And then finally, if you want to be extra and use inversion, où danses-tu? Où danses-tu? Okay, where dance you? Où danses-tu? And yes, you need to have this link. You need to have the hyphen in there, otherwise it's not correct, okay? That's why it is a little bit extra, because of the spelling and all that as well. Now, the formula is a little bit different for qui. You will then have the question word plus the verb, because qui can also be a subject pronoun, right? It's the same as il or elle. So if my question is, who's dancing? Qui danse? Qui danse? If my question is, who is it? Qui est? Qui est? S. Qui est? Saying any word in QU in French is very difficult for us English speakers because we want to pronounce it as quoi, okay? There is no quoi for the Q in French. It's always a k sound, okay? So qui danse, qu'est-ce que, question, all right? It's always k. All right, the other way to make the formula for a question word with qui, question word plus verb plus subject. Qui êtes-vous? Who are you? Qui es-tu? Who are you? Qui sont les étudiants? Who are the students? Qui danse bien? Qui danse bien? Who dances well? Okay, that should actually be up here. That should be in this one. Qui danse bien should be up here. Okay. So I just wanted to highlight to you a couple of question words so that when you see them in chapter 8, you're not going to be completely overwhelmed. But question words, being able to, shout out ou or qui, knowing those question words alone can be very, very helpful for you. Okay, some more useful little words, petits mots utiles, are included in this chart, and we will see them over and over, and they're very important to help you grow in your proficiency and say different things. So we have a, which can mean at or in. We have de, which can mean from or of. We have et, which means and. We have ou without the accent, notice, which means or. So that's kind of a annoying thing sometimes with the accents, okay? So ou with the accent means where, ou without the accent means or. Avec, with. Pour, for. Mais, but. Okay, May, M-A-I-S, is pronounced exactly the same as the month, M-A-I. Okay, the S is not pronounced. All right, so try to, when you're thinking about writing or answering questions, try to think about how you can insert some extra detail to give yourself some practice using some of these extra little words. We will see them over and over again and keep practicing with them, but I want you to be aware of them because, just the difference between a and de, je suis à Paris, I am in Paris, je suis de Paris, I am from Paris. So huge difference with just two, 1 to 2 little letters changes the entire meaning of the sentence. Okay, so just something to be aware of. All right, ne pas, négatif. Okay, ne pas, ne pas. The best way to remember negative is the idea of lunette, glasses. Ne pas sont les lunettes that go around the verb. So if the verb is a nose, the lunettes go around the nose. Okay, you always have to have the ne pas when you're making a negative. The negative always has 2 parts in French. So here are some examples of negative responses. Tu as soif? Je n'ai pas soif. Tu danses bien? Je ne danse pas bien. Elle voyage en France? Elle ne voyage pas en France. Ils écoutent de la musique? Ils n'écoutent pas de la musique. Notice with the verbs that start with the vowel, okay, you have to drop the E from the ne and put an apostrophe, okay, because in French they don't like the two vowels like that together. All right, it affects the pronunciation and the tonality of the language. All right, so the goal for this lesson was to identify and to use the verb être, to be able to say where you are using a few commonly found places in town and commonly used words like ici, là, là-bas, and even being aware of how to say you're in a city, à Tacoma, à Spanaway, or in a country, aux États-Unis, en France. To ask and answer yes, no questions. So the key there is using the helper word esca or using intonation to ask your question. And then when you're answering, oui ou no, and then add a full sentence. Doesn't have to be super long after it. Lastly, to ask and answer information questions related to common actions. So this includes an introduction to question words like où, where, qui, who, little helpful words like à, de, avec, pour, mais, okay? And lastly, how to recognize and make a negative response. What do you need to make a negative? Ne pas. All right, so those are the goals for this chapter. If you're feeling still unclear about any of those, watch my videos again, shoot me an email. To be honest, the last part of this chapter is the most difficult because it's just so much information, just kind of in a, information dump. The negative from this last section, the negative is the most important, followed by the question words, où and qui, and then followed by those other little words, which we'll just keep seeing over and over. And which I know when you do an interpretive activity, like when you read or hear something, you understand what it's saying. It's just getting to the point where you can apply it. All right? Okay, bon courage.